For 4,500 years, they've just sat there on the horizon, sparking all kinds of theories, from the absolutely brilliant to the, well, bizarre. But how were the Great Pyramids actually built? In this explainer, we're going to peel back all those layers of myth and uncover the incredible engineering reality behind them.
Let's really stop and think about this for a second. We are talking about millions of stone blocks, some of them heavier than an elephant, stacked nearly 500 feet high with just breathtaking precision. And they did it all without a single crane or power tool. So the question isn't just how, it's how in the world is that even possible?
The answer isn't nearly as exotic as some theories might have you believe. So forget the ancient aliens, okay? The latest archaeological evidence, the hard facts, point to something way more impressive. A civilization that mastered logistics, physics, and project management on a truly epic scale.
And that epic project starts with the people. Before we even get to the physics or the tools, we have to understand the workforce. Who were these thousands upon thousands of individuals who actually made this happen? Well, the reality is so much more interesting than the myths.
Okay, let's just get this out of the way right now. This is probably the single biggest myth about the pyramids. That image of slaves toiling under the whip, it's powerful for sure, but the evidence we have from the ground tells a completely different story.
So instead of slaves, what archaeologists now estimate is a massive, rotating workforce of somewhere between 20 and 30,000 skilled laborers. These weren't just any workers. They were respected builders, they were masons, they were engineers.
And how do we know this? Because archaeologists literally found the proof right there at the Giza Plateau, an entire city built just for the workers. Think about this. They were buried in honored tombs near the pharaohs. That's something you would never do for a slave. Excavations have uncovered these industrial-scale bakeries and breweries and huge piles of animal bones, showing they ate a really protein-rich diet of beef, goat, and fish. They even had organized teams with these surprisingly modern, competitive names, like the Friends of Khufu. This wasn't a slave camp. It was a city of motivated professionals.
Okay, so we've got our skilled workforce, but how did they move stone blocks weighing up to 70 tons, some quarried from hundreds of kilometers away, across the desert?
This chart really puts that logistical nightmare into perspective. So the main structure, that was built with local limestone quarried less than a kilometer away. Easy enough, right? But for that beautiful, fine, white outer casing, they had to bring stones from Tura, which is all the way across the Nile. And the really massive granite blocks for the inner chambers, get this, those were hauled from Aswan, a staggering 800 kilometers away.
So how do you drag a 70-ton block across miles of sand? It's not about brute force. It's about clever physics. For years, it was just a theory, but a 2014 study finally proved it. Pouring just the right amount of water on the sand right in front of a sledge, it cuts the pulling force in half. It's that simple, and it's absolutely brilliant.
And this created a super simple, repeatable process. Step 1, put the block on a big wooden sledge. Step 2, a worker walks right out in front, moistening the sand. Step 3, the team pulls, but with massively reduced friction. It's such a low-tech but incredibly effective solution to a huge problem.
All right, the stones are on site, but now comes the next huge challenge. How do you get them up the pyramid, which is eventually going to stand almost 150 meters tall? Well, the answer is ramps, but what kind of ramps?
The classic image we all have is this one giant, straight ramp. But the math just doesn't add up. A ramp with a gentle enough slope would have to be over a mile long and would have taken almost as much material to build as the pyramid itself. That's why most experts now believe in a much more efficient design, like a spiral ramp that wraps around the outside. There's even this fascinating theory, backed by modern thermal scans, of a hidden internal ramp corkscrewing its way up right inside the structure.
Moving these massive blocks is one thing, but the precision of the pyramids is what can really just boggle your mind. So let's take a look at the incredible planning and surveying that went into this thing.
So forget about lasers and power drills. Their toolkit was surprisingly simple. For the softer limestone, they could use copper chisels. But for the incredibly hard granite, they had to use a much more grueling method, just pounding it with heavy dolerite stones and using quartz sand as an abrasive to slowly grind and shape the blocks.
And the results of all that painstaking work is just astonishing. Using only these basic tools, the builders of the Great Pyramid aligned it to true north with an accuracy of just 1/15 of a degree. To put that into perspective for you, that is more precise than many modern construction projects are today.
So how on earth did they do it? Through really meticulous observation and some pretty clever tools. They figured out true north just by tracking the stars that never set. They used simple devices like the Mercat, which is basically a type of plumb line, to make sure everything was vertically accurate, and the gnomon, a kind of shadow plotting stick, to create perfectly level foundations.
So what was the real secret then? It wasn't one single invention, and it wasn't alien technology. It was this powerful combination of human factors all working together in perfect harmony. This quote really just says it all, doesn't it? The ultimate secret isn't some lost technology. It's the sheer power of human potential. The pyramids show us what's possible when an entire society focuses all of its ingenuity, its organization, and its perseverance on a single monumental goal.
So at the end of the day, the secret wasn't a piece of lost tech or some hidden knowledge. The secret was the system. A system that combined a massive, well-supported workforce with sophisticated project management. A system that applied simple physics with brilliant effect, and a system that was sustained by generations of shared purpose. That is the true power that built the pyramids.
And you know, that really leaves us with this final thought. That ancient formula, organization, science, perseverance, it's not just history. It is the very same blueprint we use today to build space stations or cure diseases. The tools might have changed, but that fundamental power of human ingenuity, that hasn't changed one bit.